Kansas State versus TCU in the Big 12 championship game. This game is going to be played this Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. The Horn Frogs are a 2.5-point favorite going into this matchup. All they have to do is win, and they're in. Perfect 12-0, facing 9-3 Kansas State. Now, Kansas State is a really good team. As a matter of fact, I think that they probably are the most complete team in this conference. Okay, TCU has a better offense than Kansas State, but Kansas State has a better defense. They have two really good defensive ends who are really good at getting after the quarterback. I think that their secondary has some talent, even though they did suffer some injuries to their two starting safeties who are not going to be playing in this game. But Kansas State's defense, in my opinion, is the best in this conference. And this defense showed up to play in their last outing because at one point, TCU was down 28-10. And you may ask yourself, okay, what happened? Well, Kansas State's backup quarterback, Will Howard, they ended up running him on a design quarterback run. He got injured, and he had to come out for a couple of series. And even before that, before he even came into the game, Adrian Martinez started for the first series, and then he took himself out of the game, and Will Howard came in. Now, I really want to know how big of an impact is Adrian Martinez going to have in this game, if any? Because he is dealing with an injury, so he is questionable. However, they have went ahead and announced that Will Howard is going to be quarterback one for this game, regardless if Adrian Martinez can play or not. And if Adrian Martinez can play in this game, they came out and said that they're working on some special packages for him. So they're going to find a way to get him involved. I hope that they can get him involved. Because Adrian Martinez, when he was healthy before he went down with his injury, there were some people who had Adrian Martinez in the Heisman conversation. And I mean, this dude is really dynamic with his legs. So I think for Kansas State, you know, if Adrian Martinez can suit up to play in this game, I definitely feel like finding a way to get him involved in this game gives them a better chance at winning because their offense runs through Deuce Vaughn. Now, they do have a couple of playmakers, but they're not as talented on the perimeter as TCU is. So for Kansas State, this is a team that loves to run the football. However, they can throw the football and do it at a pretty high level. And they're really good at getting chunk plays as well. But the thing with TCU is that their defense has started to play really well over the last couple of weeks. And I think that this defense has now started to hit their stride. Yeah, they blew out Iowa State. I know Iowa State isn't a juggernaut, but TCU has had some really good performances this year on the defense side of football. And not enough people have talked about it. Because when you think of TCU, you just think of a team who can score a lot of points. But if you go back and you watch their win against Texas, they showed you that they can win with defense. They held Brian Bijan Robinson to under 50 yards rushing. And this is somebody who has been going off for damn near 200 yards a game over the past month. And that was pretty much the worst game of the season for Bijan Robinson. So this is a TCU team that defensively, they do have the capability of being able to turn it up on you. And you look at Kansas State, what happened in that last game when Will Howard went down, the backup quarterback came in, TCU had an interception on them, and by the time Will Howard came back into the game, TCU already had all the momentum. So you just wonder if Kansas State's defense is going to be able to come into this game and have the same performance that they had week 7, back when they were up 28-10. Because, I mean, their defense played good enough to give them a 28-10 lead. So how can they not be able to do it again? And I don't think their defense collapsed. If anything, their defense was put at a disadvantage once the third string quarterback had to come in and the offense couldn't move the ball. They were going 3 and out, having to punt, not really having any good drives offensively. And the defense ended up having to come back for more plays than what they should have been on the field for. They got tired. TCU took advantage. In this game, I think that Kansas State, without their 2 top safeties, Sincere Mason and Kobe Savage, not being able to play, both out for the year, I think that TCU is definitely going to be able to take advantage of that. And another thing is that TCU, hopefully they can do a better job protecting Max Duggins in this game. Because for Kansas State defensively, in this game, I really think the pass rush is going to be really important. Because if you can have another game like you did last time where you get 4 sacks on Max Duggins, it definitely helps your chances because TCU is a big play offense. Yeah, they do have the capability of being able to be methodical and do a lot of good things inside the numbers and be efficient and move the chains. But at the same time, I think that this is more of an offense that is more built for the big play. And you do have a really good running back. You can run the football at a really high level. But I think with Max Duggins in this passing attack, you definitely look at the fact that TCU is going to be without their 2 top safeties in this game. Hell, I say start the game out taking shots deep, attacking those safeties. Attacking those 2 new safeties who are going to be playing in this game. Well, they're not really new because they have started a couple of matchups. But I just think for TCU, you should be able to have a lot of success when it comes to getting a lot of big plays over the top on the back end of that Kansas State defense with the injuries that they have. However, they have some ball hawks on this team. You know, one of their safeties was actually tied for the team lead in interceptions, but they do have some good corners. And I think that overall, this secondary is good enough to force some turnovers. Max Duggins doesn't turn the football over all that much. So you wonder for TCU in this game, right? What happens if they get down 28-10 again? Or if they just end up trailing again? Because this has been a team that has been really good at finding ways to will themselves to wins. But in this game, this time, you know, if they get down again, I don't think they're going to win. You look at the last game, Will Howard, I believe if he doesn't get injured, Kansas State probably wins that game. Because once he went down, their defense kind of was able to take advantage of the third string quarterback who came in. And I think for TCU, you know, you're 5th in the Big 12 in sacks given up. And Kansas State is 2nd in the Big 12 in sacks with 27. So they can get after the quarterback. And they can put TCU in situations where they get them in the 3rd and long. And they can just play back and just keep everything in front of them and not have to worry about TCU beating them over the top. I think that Kansas State is really good at converting in 3rd and medium situations or shorter. They get in the 3rd and 5 and they're really effective. Because that allows them to still get Deuce Vaughn involved, whether that be on the ground or via the air. And if you're TCU, how can you put Kansas State in uncomfortable situations in 3rd down? Well, the key is trying to stop Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn is the heart and soul of this offense. You can't allow Deuce Vaughn to beat you on 3rd down. And I said this a couple of weeks ago when Alabama had to play Ole Miss. If Ole Miss was going to have a chance at winning that game or keeping it close, they were going to have to be able to slow down Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs got injured. He ended up leaving that game at one point. But when he was in that game, Ole Miss did a really good job at shutting him down. Against LSU, Jahmyr Gibbs was getting hell of 3rd down receptions and killing them. And when you look at Deuce Vaughn, you can't allow him to affect the game in that way. Okay, like, I don't think Deuce Vaughn is going to get shut down. But at the same time, you can limit how much of an impact he has in this game. Okay, you can't allow Deuce Vaughn to take over this ball game. Because once you allow Deuce Vaughn to take over the game, then that means that Kansas State is now able to get that run game going. They're churning out yards on third down. They're converting. They're getting you into 3rd and 1. They're right up the gut, easy. Like for TCU, stopping Deuce Vaughn definitely has to be the focal point for their defense. And we all know this, but at the same time, it's like Kansas State offensively, they're not all that talented compared to TCU. And yeah, they can keep up with you. They can put up points. However, I think that if TCU can get a couple of stops, if this game ends up leaning towards a shootout, which we probably expect it to be, I think this matchup favors TCU. And that's why I'm going to take TCU to win this game. I was close to taking Kansas State, but it's just that with the injuries that they have in the back end of their secondary, that worries me. TCU is a big play offense. What they like to do, throw the ball downfield. And without their 2 top safeties in this game, I really don't know how effective their secondary is going to be at limiting the big plays of the TCU offense. And Max Duggins is playing as good as any other quarterback in college football. Quentin Johnston is questionable for this game. He didn't play against Iowa State, but many people are optimistic about him playing in this game and suiting up. So I'm going to take TCU. I'm not super confident, but at the same time, like, I give them the edge because they are the more talented team. I do think overall they are better, even though Kansas State does have a better defense. I just like TCU in this game, but I'm not extremely confident about taking them to win this game. And I do think Kansas State has a really good shot at winning this thing, but I'm going to take TCU. I think they win this game, and they clinch their spot in the college football playoffs for the first time ever.